Well, here I am with the famous Chad, who,
I forgot my water.
oh, go for it.
All right. Yeah, I'll be right back.
All right.
Wait, actually, I got one right here in the handy garage.
Yeah. Looks
So,
pretty cool.
did you ever? So we were just talking before, and I asked you if you're a player, and you said you play at the church like once a month. Is that something? Were you always a player? I mean, you got some nice axes
Yeah.
back.
No, yeah, I played like I mean, I started when I was like 12 or something, and I I wasn't like super into it, just because like when I first started taking lessons, like I didn't really like I didn't know music, like so. Um, but then when I was in like high school, I started going to a church where there was like youth group kids that were all into like punk bands and stuff, and they all had bands, and so then I started like being in bands with them and stuff like that. But
Sure.
punk, and then like, and then it was like metalcore and stuff like that. So
Do you
yeah.
like some secular stuff, or?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't ever listen to like, well, I don't know. This is kind of funny, but like, cause so I play electric, and then whenever it was, I'd play in like a church band or whatever, different settings, because I played with a lot of places with different people. But if it was like a little bit more like like improvising was good, or just a little more free flowing, I would always just think of like, this song reminds me of like a certain like classic rock song, and so then I would just try to like play stuff that kind of like I play solos and stuff that goes with like that kind of vibe or whatever.
Yeah.
So
That's when I started playing. I was right around roughly the same time you did, and like I my mom took me to a couple of lessons, but I just couldn't really I wouldn't adhere to it, I guess.
yeah.
But I did pick up how to read tabs and
Mm-hmm.
how to turn or to tune the guitar. And then from there I just like I I don't know. I look back on it now, it's really a matter of just being lazy. Like I never really wanted to learn other people's music because I just thought it was like too like, I don't know. I didn't have confidence in my ability to learn or like the discipline to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So then what I did was the super virtuous thing and just said screw it. And then like I put on at the time I was listening to a lot of Foo Fighters and a lot of Sublime's self-titled record.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would just do exactly what you're talking about. And I just play my own stuff over it. And that's really how I learned how to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was always like, I don't know, but it's weird too, because like playing like electric guitar, it's the worst instrument to like play by yourself. Like whenever like people would come over our house or something and be like, oh, play something for me, I'm like, I can't. What do you want? I don't know. Everything I play, like, because if you're playing like in a full band and you're just playing like bling, 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 just play like these little things that fit into like, you can't really, it's not like piano players, like they can just play by themselves and it sounds like amazing. But
Yeah.
and I would always, I know what you're talking about, because yeah, I was homeschooled, and but then like my mom had a job too, so we were just alone a lot. And
Yeah.
we would just like my brother and I would like listen to like Led Zeppelin records, and then just play. I'd just be playing guitar along with it and stuff. And
Yeah.
it's fun.
I loved it, man. And well, I remember I got up enough money to get a Digitech RP6, which was like this blue pedal that had like four knobs or four like buttons, and then a wah pedal or like a compression pedal, and then a couple up and down pedals. And I would just sit in my room and basically, because I wasn't really interested in a lot of people, so I would just sit in there and I would tweak with the different noises and just kind of like I would learn bits and pieces of songs. Like I would learn like, like maybe like everybody, Enter Sandman, like a part of that, and then maybe a part of For Whom the Bell Tolls, and then maybe like the opening riff of like, Ain't Talking About Love and, Stairway and all this stuff. And but beyond that, I would really experiment with a lot of sounds, and just, it was a great way for me to isolate. And I loved it though. Like if I ever ended up getting back into being interested in being creative with music again, it would be probably pretty similar to that, but with like a computer, and then just recording tracks. And then as far as like, not for a song's sake, but for like layers sake, I'd like to know how to, I was always interested in like what it might be like to create different soundscapes and layers with guitars. And that was what I'm really interested in.
Yeah, I had a pretty good recording setup for a while, and then I sold everything before I moved down here to Texas. So now I have nothing. So
Yeah.
I have this one microphone that I bought to do YouTube videos that for some reason it stopped working with my phone. I don't know why. So it works with the computer and doesn't work with the phone anymore. So, but yeah, that stuff it's super fun, but yeah, it's definitely like, it's great for when you're single and don't have a real job and all that stuff. Because
yeah, and I don't know. Yeah. So I heard you were about to say something like, I don't just listen to K-Love or something, is what I almost heard you say a little bit ago. Like,
yeah, or whatever,
but I'm not interested. My wife and I were actually talking about this yesterday, about the church, because we're in a church, and we're just talking about, probably the one area that gets most grievance is music in the church, and the church we go to, it's got just like an organ player, and it's like a Lutheran church, and there's like maybe 40, 50 people max. Most of them are in their 60s and 70s and 80s. And so it's really just hymns, and which I like it. I like it better than like some of the bigger churches I went to, where there's like this smoke machine, and then the badly mixed, overproduced light show, bad mixing, and just really kind of, I don't know, music that sorry, can you hear that train?
I can, but it's okay. It's not that.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's gonna get louder.
Okay. Well, we'll deal with that when that happens. Yeah, I hear you. That was like, yeah, I grew up with just the organ and hymns, like in so my dad was a pastor, but he didn't like set out to be a pastor. He well, yeah, so the church that we were going to when I was a kid, around when I was like maybe 9 or 10 or something like that, the other pastor left, and my dad just kind of filled in for a while, because really because he'd been a Christian longer than most of the other people there, and he had an education degree, so he was good at like teaching and good at studying and stuff, but he just ended up doing it for like 25 years. So, but it was just a tiny little church, and like every once in a while there was somebody would come who would like, had a guitar and would play some of the like more modern songs, and then I started going to a church when I was in high school, like the youth group or whatever down the street, and they had all the like, yeah, well, the music for the youth was probably terrible because they were all just really into punk, and so they tried to like make it sound bad, but it was like the contemporary thing. But yeah, and some of it was pretty good. Like it was actually at one point we got set up with like a thing where we got to like, this is later. This was like when I worked at that church. I worked there for like 10 years or something, and we like played at this huge like youth conference. It was like 3,000 kids and stuff, and I mean, for them it was super fun. For me, because it's like I'm a rock star now, and for those kids it was like, it was awesome. But yeah, I mean, it's not like when we moved down here and we started looking around at churches, and like there's a lot of like big churches here, and some of that stuff I was like, this is, I don't like the, if it's too like if it's too much, it's just distracting. So
Yeah, that like I could see how. See what I like about the thing you described there, where there's like 3,000 kids there, and there's people there who are actually performing music. Who, it seems like it's a real connection. Like to me seems like more of a genuine type of a connection, not just with the idea of feeling like a rock star, but with actually like having a connection with God. Like this other stuff though is like, I'll give you a good example. So at this church we go to, they like soon after we started attending, they started doing something that they call special music. And it's like the first song of the thing. And it's like somebody in the church comes in and they like might play something or whatever. It's totally different from the rest of the thing. And I'm not a big fan of it. It's kind of, I feel like it's awkward, but like in one of these situations, they took the song by Leonard Cohen, Hallelujah, which I think is an amazing song. And they changed the words of it to be more like this, I don't know, more explicitly Christian. Yeah. And I thought they completely ruined the song. And it made me feel yucky just listening to it. But like I don't know why you would do that. I mean, to me, I think like the actual song, it's honest in a way, and it's like the actual Hallelujah is like, I mean, it's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah. I mean, that's a genuine line, about somebody's life, and I don't know. I might be going off on a tangent. I just think that's so weird. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, well, I think it speaks to the point that it's like, it's not really necessarily like the style doesn't really matter. Like you can have like genuine worship that sounds like a rock band and genuine worship that sounds like, an old lady playing the organ or anything in between. And you can also have like a crummy artificial experience, with the same way, I think there's a thing, it's just like whatever it says in the Psalms, like make a joyful noise. It's like a joyful noise doesn't mean it has to be good. It just means that like the person doing it is full of joy. And so, if you're singing or you're playing because you love God, and it's like, he's pleased with all that. He's more pleased with that if it sounds bad than, with like these churches in, big cities where they like hire professional musicians and stuff, like, so that it's, a super appealing experience. I mean, and even, and that's even to say like, God can use, you could have musicians that don't even care about God, but they have talent that still came from God, and then God can still use it to bless other people too. I don't know. I always just want to err on the side of like, I think God can use everything, anything,
I agree.
So I'm not picky. But I mean, but I did like, so the church we go to, they do a lot of contemporary songs, but they don't have, it's usually a pretty simple band. Like most, usually there's usually somebody who plays drums like softly, but it's like a piano and acoustic guitar, and that's it. Or maybe like a bass. And sometimes like I'll play electric. So there's like a little bit more stuff, but it's not super crazy. And they actually like try to like pick keys for the songs that are like where most normal people can sing along, instead of like, the key on the CD where only like the professional singer can do it, and everybody else is just like, well, I can't hit those high notes, so I'm just gonna sit here. So it's like, but to me that was just like, oh wow, when I first started going there, I was like, well, I felt good, because first I was like, well, I could actually be helpful here, like, because some of these churches are, it's just like, I don't want to have a second job on top of my job that's going to a million practices. so that it sounds, you know, amazing all the time or whatever. But
Yeah.
like, but you know, it was a place where I was able to be helpful, even just, you know, in the small amount that I can contribute now. And they were really trying to do it like for the people in the church. So,
Yeah.
but
I think the one time I've ever been the one kind of music genre that I'd been genuinely moved on by, something that's more explicitly Christian, like that they would actually find in the church, is I was looking for like uh something on YouTube, and I tripped over some of these bass players and these drummers. Like there's this there was like this little this church in Milwaukee, I guess, that had like this video with like these three drummers. These kids are just killing it, dude. And it's like the black gospel, but there's like, and they got these drum breaks in there. They're just phenomenal with like the sickest rhythm section, you know, like, oh man, dude. Now that, if I could hear that every weekend, I mean, I would get into that, because it just, to me, it feels like it's a lot of it's kind of like seemingly improvised, but not exactly, you know, like that. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But also, I like, though, at the church that my wife and I go to, I was talking, when we were talking about this, I said, you know what I really love is when everybody's, or like a song might, like the lady will start the song, and a lot of the people don't know what the hell the song is. So there's like, they're kind of like trying to find the words. There's nobody really leading the words. And then maybe the organ player, she'll like hit some bad chords, and my wife and I will like look at each other and kind of chuckle a little bit. And that's a joyful moment, because it's like, we're not taking ourselves too seriously. And it's like, that's how, in many ways, how my wife and I can connect, and through God as well, you know, connecting through humor. So
yeah,
I find that way more authentic, you know, than the light show with the smoke machine, and then the like I said, the very poorly mixed, trying to mix professional sound, where you have, you know, two electric guitars, acoustic guitar, a bass player, two piano players, and a drummer in a, you know, in a plexiglass box with like five vocalists up there.
yeah.
And it's just like, ugh, ugh. So I don't know how we got on this, but I like it.
I think it was because of the guitars.
Yeah. Is that a
Yeah.
true tally or what?
What? No. Well, so this is like, I bought like one of those Mexican Fenders, and I ended up just replacing every part on it like over time. So, and then so it's got the only the one pickup. So technically, like, it's, I don't know if you can see it, but it's the
Yep.
Esquire. And
Okay.
I got that logo off of eBay. So if you ever want to make a guitar with a illegal logo, you just find the people on eBay that sell like custom logos, and you just ask them if they have like whatever one you want, and they have all the real ones. So yeah.
One of
But
these days, I'll get a new electric. I just have an acoustic.
yeah.
I mean, that was my whole life, was music, man. Everything about it, inside and out. And like, after I went to jail, I lost my rig in the pawn shop, and I gave my guitar away to the band because our bass player passed away, and we raffled it off to pay for the funeral and stuff. And so I just never got it back, and I never really cared to.
Yeah.
I just get so much more joy in listening to music. Like, and you know, there's this dude. I've been trying to talk with people about this song. Have you ever heard this song by or this band called Gang of Youths? They're an Australian like alternative band. I never heard of them before, but I tripped over one of their songs one day. I was driving. This happened like a month ago. I've been kind of going in and out of this wrestling with God phase, where I'm kind of not losing faith, but losing kind of just wrapped up in self. And so I'm on my way to this AA meeting. I'm in a kind of a pissy mood, and I'm just stuck in my head, and just kind of like thinking, and basically more or less praying, saying like, is this really it? Is this as good as it gets, dude? Like, what do you want from me, man? Like, why can't I just be fucking happy? You know, I mean, why can't I just get off of me? You know, and I'm just stuck in this, man. I'm just stuck. And then all of a sudden, like, and there's music playing in the background. I'm not paying any attention to it. All of a sudden, this lyric jumped out to me, and it's like, I was like, what? And I started the song over, and I was listening to it, and I was like, this is unbelievable. And when I got to the meeting, I sat in the parking lot, and I pulled up the lyrics because I couldn't make out all of what he was saying. And I was just in tears. I was bawling for like 5 minutes in the parking lot because it was an answer to a prayer. And it's possibly, you know, the most holy song I've ever heard. And like, I just love music for that, man. I really do. I needed it at that moment. He showed up and met me where I was, even when I was having a bad attitude, you know. And it's a song called Persevere. If you ever get a chance to check it out, it's really phenomenal.
Yeah, send me the link and I'll check it out. Yeah. It is. I mean, it's weird. I don't think about it because I can't listen to music like when I'm working because, well, I think like I know the songs are going to be like, you know, 3 to 5 minutes long, and so I just am always thinking like, okay, that's like one more song, and I just listen to too much of the details, so it just makes the day seem like longer for me. So that's why I just like listening to people talk all day, because that makes work go faster. But yeah, I definitely know like what you're talking about, because I had a thing where I remember it was something weird, like it was like I don't know if it was like after when I was home at my parents' house, like I think it was like right after like summer break or whatever, when I was like 20 or something, and I was like just like had all this stuff that was like going wrong, like everything like that was going the wrong way, and like I was just so like upset, and like I didn't know what was going on, and I had my computer going in the background, and it was just like playing songs on like random or whatever, and Let It Be came on by the Beatles, and it was just like a lightning bolt like hit me, and it was like the peace of God just like instantly, like no circumstances changed, none of the things that I was upset about changed, but it was like I was just overwhelmed by like his presence and how much he loved me, and like it was amazing. And so like, you know, that's just like, that's one, you know, because I know all the things the Bible says, and I know all of the like apologetic stuff, and I love all that stuff. But then like there's something just about like, well, wait a minute, I had this experience and it makes no sense whatever, and there wasn't any drugs, and there wasn't any reason why that would be the moment when, like, you know, it's not like you could say, oh, it's because I was in this amazing service with smoke and lights and all that stuff. It was just I was in my parents' basement, you know, and it was like just it was a God thing, and it was because of that song, and it was just like so weird. But I mean,
Those are such precious moments, man. You
yeah,
know, I relate to a lot of that. So I like I said, I listened to music my whole life, just loved it. I mean, I was obsessed with it, borderline to an unhealthy degree. And then I tripped over Joe Rogan, and a friend of mine was mentioning him. So I started listening to, I think the first thing I ever listened to was this conversation with a dude named Nicholas Christakis. And I was hooked. I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Like, it's real. And then I like went and down a rabbit hole listening to like, you know, conversations he had with David Lee Roth and Ted Nugent. And then, you know, like all the other dudes, like the dudes talking about the Younger Dryas period, like Graham Hancock and all that. And then I tripped over Peterson, and I was like, wow. And then I Peterson mentioned an audio book or a book by Tolstoy called My Confession. And then I went and I found that on YouTube, a LibriVox recording, and it was really profound. And then I tripped over the Screw Tape Letters, and it was John Cleese doing the Screw Tape Letters. And that was the first experience I ever had with an audiobook where I knew without a doubt that there was no way that I was going to be able to read that book and get the kind of experience I had listening to John Cleese perform it, because it was just the nuance in his performance was so powerful. And so then from then on, I just got addicted to audiobooks. And I wasn't much of a reader growing up at all, and not as an adult until probably the last few years. And then I got hooked on Stephen King. I had a free credit on my Audible, and I found there was like one of these Stephen King books came up. I'm like, I guess I'll check it out. I fell in love with his writing. I think I just fell in love with the whole audiobook thing, and moved further and further away from listening to music, because it's like part of it, I'll pay attention to the music, but the other part is I've heard it all. I'm just so sick of it. And then so when I get to listen to the books or the podcasts and stuff, as you said, it makes the day, like I can be in a whole other world while I'm setting tile, and it just makes the day just zoom by. But like recently, the last probably week or two, I was intrigued to go back and just revisit some older music. I went back and started listening to getting reacquainted with some of the 90s stuff I grew up on, like Counting Crows and Collective Soul and stuff like that. And I was like, man, it's really nice and it's a real blessing to be able to have all these tools like right here, right now, and be able to kind of get whatever I want. And and at the same time, it's kind of not good, I think. But a lot of distractions. I'm kind of all over the place, and I think I think my head's coming out of my ass here pretty soon, so that's good. But growing up and being an adult's pretty difficult. It's something new for me, and I'm going to be 39 in June. So.
Yeah, it's being adult. Yeah, it's not as fun as you imagine it would be when you're a kid, but it's also better in a lot of ways too. So
God, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't want to go back, that's for sure.
Because it's funny, because how long you been married?
I've been married for 2 years.
Okay, so yeah, you were even old. I was 30 when I got married, and like after being married for like a while, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad God prevented me from getting married when I was like 23 or whatever, because I was, I went to everything in my life was basically Christian, so like it was all the like purity culture and stuff, which I think is good, but because of that, everybody goes to like Bible college and then they get married when they're like 22, 23. And I would not have been good at that when I was that age. So it's good. I mean, it's when you have to get to that place of where you realize, like, I don't know. I just always think about these things. It's like, it's not because it's like what I want or whatever, but all these experiences is about like God making me the person that he wants me to be. It's not about my enjoyment or whatever, but the more that I'm willing to go with his plan about becoming the person that he wants me to be, the more I do enjoy all of that stuff. And
absolutely.
And having kids is even like more crazy of an experience.
I hope that we do. We're trying.
Yeah.
I was thinking about this because a lot of my life I had the fantasy of wishing I was somebody else, and it had only been in the last year where I was driving or whatever it was. My mind's all over the place, but like it does things like a question will pop up in my mind just out of nowhere, as I'm sure it does with a lot of people. Like, if you could be anybody, Chad, who could you be? Who would you want to be? And I sat and I thought about it. I really genuinely thought about it. And I came to the conclusion that there's no way in hell I'd want to be anybody else. And I was really grateful for that, because it took a long time to know like this unique experience of being Chad, with the relationship that I've had away from God and with God and all these different things. It's interesting. It's really a blessing, because I always wanted to run from that, and just, you know, I would always, like, the same thing with like wanting to play guitar. Like, I want to play guitar, but I don't want to learn your damn music. So I only, not because of your bad music, but because I'm too lazy. It's the same kind of concept. I want to be somebody else, but I don't want to do anything to do that, you know? And so it's nice to realize that if I really look at my life and every step along the way, even when I wasn't where I'd like to be, or like where I am today, I can see the hand of God the whole way. I mean, and that you take one of those little things out and this poof, it's not the same. And so yeah, that's been a really cool thing to come to, and just realizing that and like there's way more ahead, you know, because like I can sit here and talk like about how I feel right now, and oh, I'm getting old, and I feel like what is going to come to, what am I going to do next, and then like somebody who's like Paul's age, you know, Vanderclay's age, will say, oh, you're young. But I'm like, you might say I'm young, but I feel like I've been here forever, you know, and I don't feel young, and you know what I mean? Yeah. So I'm kind of all over the place, but yeah, that was a blessing to be able to realize that I would not want to be anybody else, you know? Yeah. So as much as I'm a pain in the ass, I wouldn't want to be anybody else.
Yeah, that's a good place to be. I mean, I think about that stuff too, because I know, and you said, I don't know, it was some video you had, like whatever it was, like about a pen or something, and you're just thinking about like all the people that like it took in all these different places to get this thing into your hand, and you can do that thought experiment with like everything all the time, and
little piece of tinfoil you could do it with.
Yeah,
literally.
And it just makes me think like, and you know, I've done that. I've gone through some of those things in my own like story, and thinking about like why, like how did I get here? Like how did I get to this thing where you and I are talking now? And it's like such a weird like string of events, but you know, clearly it's like God has a hand in all of that. And I think that to me it makes me appreciate like, we don't know, like I think, you know, sometimes we think about like, oh, the significant things like God wants me to do, like, you know, if I'm having a spiritual conversation with somebody, that's important, but like this little small other interaction doesn't really matter. Or like, you know, me trying to like do a good job at work, like nobody's going to get saved because of that or whatever, but like all that stuff adds up. And you know, you never know when somebody's going to notice. Just, I mean, like I even remember like when I was in high school, you know, I was a goofy kid or whatever, but I was a pretty good kid. And like I remember I was like I used to work at Walmart when I was in high school, and I would you know, do the shopping carts and bring all the shopping carts in, and there was this other kid that I would work with, and like I never tried to like talk about him like anything important with him ever. And then one day he was like, you know what I realized? You never swear. And I was like, yeah, well, that's because, you know, I don't make a habit of that because I believe in God and, you know, all this stuff. And it was like, I got to have this amazing conversation with him. And then, you know, I lost touch with that guy not long after that or whatever. But it's like, well, you know, I was there at that moment, and like something as insignificant as that or whatever, like that made a difference. And like, you know, it let me have a conversation. And so it's like, I think that, you know, when you have that view, it just, like nothing, there's nothing that's unimportant. Like in all of our lives, nothing is unimportant, which I guess that can kind of become like a paralyzing thought. But then I also just think of like, so this is the thing, like where I remember, because when I first watched those maps of meaning videos with Peterson, where he talks about Pinocchio,
Yeah.
and and it's all like Pinocchio's uh, saving his father from the belly of the whale, and Pinocchio, he's smashing furniture, burning, starting fires, causing chaos, and it's like this is all the stuff that he learned on Pleasure Island. Like that's where he learned to do that. He did not, like, he was not a good kid. He didn't learn good skills, but the bad stuff that he used is like, in, not to say like God's present, but like that's what he uses to do the great thing that he needed to do to rescue his father. And so it's like that's kind of how I feel like we're like, hey God, did I do good, like with my smashing and burning, and like, we're just like, even our best efforts, it's like so far from perfect or whatever. But like God will say like, yep, I can use that. I'll take this crazy Chad guy and I'll put him here and he'll do this stuff and that will accomplish the thing that I want. And I'll send this Mike guy over here and he can go make a fool of himself somewhere, and that'll accomplish what I want. And so, I mean, yeah, it's like, I don't know, I'm just blown away by just the way that God, it's kind of interesting because I know you've been putting a lot of stuff kind of, and there's a lot of people who are scared about like totalitarian governments and, all these like world controlling systems and stuff. And I just I'll always keep thinking like, well, it makes sense that that's the devil's plan, because the devil has no idea what's going on unless if he can see it and understand it. But so as Christians, we shouldn't freak out when we see like crazy stuff, like, because I mean it might be scary or it might be unsettling, but like God knows what is happening everywhere. And like, if it seems like there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, like he's doing stuff behind the scenes, or he's making it, making things happen that we have no idea about. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, so it's funny because one time, I remember when I first heard about the simulation idea, and I was like, I went to my wife, I said, this is crazy. There's people who like say like we could actually be living in a simulation right now. And I was like, what do you think about that? And she's like, what difference does it make? And I was like, oh, yeah. So it's like a matter of attitude. Hang on a minute. Sorry, somebody's trying to call me there for a second. It's a matter of attitude, right? And so a lot of this, like the stuff that seems fearful that I'm posting, like, because I had a conversation a couple weeks ago, not one of these, just like a conversation in passing, and I was expressing my lack of faith in mankind's ability to pull out from the free fall. And when I say that, people automatically think I'm trying to be a doom and gloomer, or that I think I'm like it's the end. I'm not necessarily worried about the totalitarian governments or anything like that. And when I talk about like having a concern about, or an intuition of man's lack of ability to pull out of the destruction that we placed ourselves in, that's not a pessimistic statement. It's like I'm just trying to call out what seems obvious. Like, I don't think it's all going to go to hell in a handbasket. I think it's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. That's all. Yeah. And seemingly worse too, right? Because as you said, I mean, for me, the most basic connection that I have with God is that, or understanding of God and Christ and the whole thing, is that it's a mystery.
Mhm.
That's the essence of the whole thing. And so the more I start trying to like box up the mystery and make sense of it, I get further and further away from him, and it makes it all weird. But the more I can let go of it and just be a seeker of him and try to have my attitude aimed in the right direction, even if like 5 minutes ago I was a bad, was a dickhead or whatever. Oh, we got a train coming through, boss. See, God doesn't want me to talk right now. But the idea is, as you were saying, we don't know. We don't know what his plan is. And the more I can let go of trying to box up what I think his plan is, the more I do that, the further away from him I get. And the more that I can just like try to be present and here and still seek him, even when I'm not doing what I would like to be doing or acting how I'd like to be acting, and just keep my eyes open. He always shows up in the mystery. He never shows up in the obvious. You know what I'm saying? It's always like this, like, what? That's so weird. And it's as if God doesn't care about nuance. It's like, no, just go live and do what you're supposed to be doing, I guess, as best as you can. And then I'll take care of the rest. And then and then along the way, it's like, well, that's the weirdest stuff. All the times I've ever had, the most powerful experiences I've ever had with God, I couldn't have predicted it.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't have predicted when it was going to happen or how it was going to happen. And I don't think even if I could have, I wouldn't have picked it the way that it showed up, because it's too painful usually. So I don't know.
Yeah. And I always think about like, that verse in Proverbs where it says like that his word will be a light on your feet and a lamp on your path. And so it's like, you can just see your feet and like the next step in front of you. And that's like the thing. It's like, you if you're just listening and like I don't know what, like I could never predict what my life would be now 10 years ago, but there's a lot of times where I knew God wanted me to take one little step, and most of the time I was able to do that, or I was able to do it close enough or whatever. And over time, those steps, when I look back, it's like, wow, like a lot of great stuff has happened. And it is, it is not to say great, like just like in good things, but like, the painful stuff, like that is good stuff. Like that is meaningful. Yeah. And, and it's just weird. Like, I'll just hear like, I don't know, it's just randomly hearing like, turn the radio on and it was like some, what was, I was driving, a car that I don't usually drive. And so I didn't have like the Bluetooth thing or whatever. So I just had to listen to the radio. Yeah. And there's like preaching, I just found like some preaching channel or whatever. And this guy was talking about like where it talks about how every tear will be wiped away in heaven. And he was saying that it's going to be like a memory wipe, and like you're not going to forget, you're like going to forget all the bad stuff. And then I was just like, I don't think that's right. And I was just thinking about it for a long time. And I'm like, no, it means like you're going to be crying and like Jesus will be there and he'll be wiping away the tears, and you'll, like, I mean, however it physically happens doesn't matter, but it's like, it's not, he doesn't get to forget, like, he like, and I don't think that he wants us to either, because that's like, once the more I like understand about like the pain and the sacrifice that God experiences, and not even just like on the cross, like, and this is kind of a crazy thing of like, once you have children, you understand like how much you love your children. And then if your children don't love you, like genuinely didn't love you, like that would be so painful. Or, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like if your wife decides like, I don't love you anymore, like that pain would be like so powerful. And that's like how God feels with every person that doesn't want anything to do with him, and we all do that to some degree or another, even if we love God, it's, our love for him is so weak and pathetic in comparison to his love for us. And
Yeah.
so, it's like the more that I experience, if I'm in a good relationship with God, the more that I experience like pain and rejection, the more it makes me love him, which is like, that sounds like such a weird thing, but but that's I guess some of the mystery of it, or just the way that it doesn't make sense. And that's even why it's like, God, why don't you give me more money to take care of like bills, and why does my car break down, all this stuff? It's like, well, because if he gave me everything that like I prayed for, I would never actually care about praying, like if he just gave you like all the blessings or whatever, like we would just, I know I would just ignore God. If there was no problems in my life whatsoever, I wouldn't be
It wouldn't
spending
be like,
my free time, trying to know God and learn about him and understand him. So
yeah, it wouldn't be life, And then like thinking about how like from like trying to see it from God's perspective, like you're saying, where I look at all my kids here, and all these kids over here, they don't love me, and then thinking about like, and then thinking about how not frustrating, I guess you might feel, but like even more stacked on top of that pain would be, and they don't even know that they don't love me.
mm-hmm.
And they don't even know why they don't know they don't love me. And they don't even know maybe about me. And it's like that. Yeah, that would be tough, man. And yeah,
and
man.
yeah, and even like, even if we love God, but like we, we'll say like, why did you let this happen, God? And then, you know and so we're upset with him, but he knows and he can see, like, if I gave you the thing that you think you want, like for me, it's like, if God gave me, like, if God let me get married when I was in my 20s or whatever, like, it would have been a bad thing for me, but it would have taken me a long time to realize it. So it's like, now I can look back and value, like, when he answers my prayers by saying no to the things that are not good for me.
Yeah.
But I don't, it takes a while for us to appreciate and understand that response. So
Yeah. I think the only time I ever had the why the hell would you do that, God question was as a kid. uh I was I was born with a cleft lip and cleft palate, and it was rough as far as being around other kids and stuff. And that one always was, that was the one thing that would have me asking that question, like, what? And I didn't know I was even asking God necessarily. I think maybe once in a while I might have said that, but it was more like, what the hell? Like, what was the point of that? Like,
mm-hmm.
And but as I move forward, and I made a lot of peace with it, like, um, I was borderline obsessed with that for up and through adulthood, and it has only been probably the last 9 years where it doesn't even cross my mind really.
Mm-hmm.
And um, um, but as far as like I don't have the questions of God, why did you allow this to happen, or why don't you give me? Because I don't pray. When I pray, I don't ask. I don't even know what to ask for. So my prayer life is so weak. Um, and but I still try to do it. Um, and I have been uh, lacking a lot in the last couple months, but when I do pray, it's usually something like, God, please help me get out of the way so I can be useful to others, and that's pretty much the basic of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm thinking of praying for, like, if I'm going to pray for you or whatever, I wouldn't even know what to say. So I would just think of your face, and then I think of your name and just offer you to him. And that's it. And then I just leave it alone. And I don't know what else to go from there. And so part of it probably is the lack of repetitions. And then, but the problem with repetitions is this because I can get myself into a place where I just feel like I'm praying to the paint on the wall, and so I don't know, it's like, I don't know, but I don't come to a place where I'm like, why did you let this happen, or why won't you, it's like, I don't really understand God to be that way. I feel like whatever is happening, it's like way above my pay grade, and so I think a lot of it is just the world being the world, and I don't think I lack, even before Christ, I didn't have a lack of faith in God. Like, it was only the thing that Christ did, being captured by Christ, what that did is just solidified who God was for me, and then allowed me to for a long time to stop, the miracle that happened for me was it allowed me to accept Christ without having to know the answers, and that was a great miracle, because, and I'm glad that it's still that way. Like, I'm not fettered with the idea of trying to figure out whether or not there was a virgin birth or not, or how he was or what. It's like, no, it happened, and it is what it is, and I don't need. It's not my business, like in. But yeah. So I don't know. People are, maybe whoever's listening is, a couple things. Like, if you ever praying, I guess you probably get better advice on this, but yeah, just ask God to help you get out of the way so that you can be useful. And then there are times, another prayer I might use would be like, God, I have no idea what you want me to see or hear right now. Can you just show me in plain terms? Because I'm dense. I don't know. And a lot of times that really helps. And I could get answers just real clearly, because I'll be like, I don't know, man. And oftentimes when I pray too, I have a very, I'm not afraid to use words with them. I want to be able to be honest with them. And sometimes my anger is honesty. And I know all this is weird for some people, but I tell you what, if I was to just go in my room and just pray the Lord's Prayer or something like that by myself, and just do that for like a year straight, I'm not sure I would feel connected, because I would probably feel a little bit like a phony, because sometimes I have to just say, I don't know what you want from me. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. I don't know how you want me to act. I don't know what the hell is going on. I don't know, but I got to ask,
Well, it's like I feel that it's weird. Like, I feel like I'm kind of always having a conversation with God in a sense, but like, my feeling is like, I didn't choose him. He chose me. Like, and that is like, I've known that for such a long time, that my prayers towards him are like very personal and very much like conversational. And sometimes, as I like, like that kid noticed, like, oh, I don't swear, but I've sweared plenty when I'm talking to God, like, and God's seen all of my anger and all of my frustration and all of my worry and fear and all that stuff. And it's just, but it's all just based on that thing. Like, his and I know what you're saying, like, because there's all these like debates about theology and all this stuff, and I'm just thinking like, well, I understand that's important for some people, and like, I like thinking about that stuff. Sometimes I like thinking about that stuff, because sometimes I just get like a sense of wonder about like how amazing God is, and like how everything works, and like, but as far as like for myself, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm God's person. I'm here to do what he wants me to do. And so, I just talk to him like he's real and he's there. And, it's not, I feel, it's good now, like, because I have kids, and so I actually have to think about like, oh, like, we're gonna pray before bed, and so I pray for my kids, and like, I'm actually more like talking directly to God and asking for things, and a little bit. But otherwise, it's kind of like, I feel like God is like speaking to me all the time by just like giving me these little like that thing that I heard on the radio that bothered me. And that's the weird thing. A lot of times it's like God wants me to hear something that bugs me, or it's just like it's been kind of awesome and crazy. But like once I started listening to Paul's channel, and then all the other people, and like there's so many people with like different views, and sometimes I'm just like, whoa, it's like this is crazy. Like this person has a totally different belief than me, and yet I can tell they really love God. So that's pretty, great, and that makes me, grow in a certain way. And then also sometimes I'll hear somebody say something that I really disagree with, and it'll bug me, but I feel like God's like, here, you need to wrestle with this, because maybe it'll change my mind, or maybe it won't. Maybe I'll become more certain of what I thought before, but it's because I know, like, I've wrestled with it, and like,
Yeah.
and then it's like it's not just something my parents taught me, or it's not something I just heard in church. It's something God taught me, because he showed me the other side, and he showed me, why trusting in him is still the right thing to do.
I love that.
Mm.
Yeah, that's great. Because like I never used to care about theology or discussion. It was just, I just didn't care. And then I started sticking around for a while. Then it's like, now I'm like interested in it. And then my pursuit of understanding theology and philosophy is, I think, at times led me to be sycophantic to God, and to be like trying to game the system. And it's like so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So I have to be careful with it. But yeah, at the when I'm most at peace with my position and my relationship with God, I can just allow people to be where the hell they are, and I don't even care. And it's just, and that's such a nice place to be, because I really do believe that, like I've said before, you can be in a room, you can be in a church with 300 people, and on any given day, there's going to be 600 different versions of God, because everybody, we are all aiming towards a similar ideal, I'm sure of it. And we are all aiming at what we call Christ. But what you call it and what I call it, when we start getting down, like, they're different. It's sometimes the same, but it's never exactly, we're not automatons for Christ. And and then I guess that's where another way I get separated from God is when I start getting upset with people, because they're like trying to do spiritual surgery on somebody who isn't asking, and trying to fix them and turn them into like what they think that they need to be. And it's just so weird, man. But like, then again, it's like, yeah, well, like you said, that's just where they are. And so maybe I should practice what I preach and just like let them be where they are. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Wish I was more connected though. Like, so there's a couple things I wish. Sometimes I wish I never tripped over any of this stuff, because it's just so much,
Yeah.
And then other times it's like I wish I just knew all the stuff really well. Like, I wish I could know without a doubt, and be able to discern without a doubt, what's more right, like Apocatasis or whatever the hell it's called, or Calvinism, whatever. But at the end of the day, what I've really come to is I definitely, I have no lack of faith in my ability to screw things up. My ability to make a situation worse, and my ability to step in between freedom or myself and God. I have all the faith in the world that I will do that. Mm-hmm. From time to time. So like, that's what keeps me seeking him, because I know that I'm just not going to be exactly the man I'd like to be.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, that's like, yeah, it's kind of funny, because like I kind of I think of myself as like I'm like a like background like Calvinist. Like I like being a Calvinist because I love God and he loves me. But if it doesn't work for other people, that's okay. Like that's just what works for me. Like that. And I was even thinking about like, Paul starts all these churches in like the book of Acts, and it says that he's a tent maker at one point. And I was thinking about that and I was like, tents, and even like, in the Old Testament, like before they build the temple, they have the tabernacle and it's a tent. And it's like a tent is a temporary thing. It's a thing that gets you in a place where you can meet God. And then however long it lasts, it did its thing. And then, you don't need it. It's okay. It's okay. Like, because people get so upset about like, oh, the church is like dying or something. And it's not true. Like the crazy thing is like the church is growing like super fast in Africa and like Asia, like way faster. It's growing faster there than it's shrinking in like America and Europe. So like in 100 years or whatever, like there's just going to be some kind of new crazy version of Christianity that has all this like African influence, and like I think that's awesome. Like I think trying to like go, you can't, and Paul talks about this a lot, Paul Vanderklay, like you
Yeah.
can't go back to the past, like, and so like I appreciate like the people getting excited about like Jonathan Pageau and the Orthodox stuff, but we can't like turn the world back into the Middle Ages. It's not going to happen. So
I want that.
yeah, I mean, and so it's good if it's like, go read the books and get that stuff. And if you go into an Orthodox church and you have that experience, that's good. But then you need to bring it into the rest of your life. And like, so that's the thing. It's like, because I see the appeal, like the idea of like going Amish and just going back to a simpler lifestyle, like is very appealing.
Have
But
you talked to some Amish people? Because a lot of them that I've talked to, well, they're not necessarily into it either.
yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
I think that is a thing. I think that's kind of a, you never appreciate what somebody else has until you figure out what's wrong with what you have or whatever. But
Right.
but like to me, I could see like, oh, that would be really fulfilling to have that lifestyle, just to focus on family, on work, and just like a that kind of a lifestyle. But I feel like God won't let me do that, because he doesn't want Christians to just be like living off in little remote areas, enjoying like whatever the perfect Christian community is. Like we got to figure out ways to deal with everything else that's going on in the world. And I mean, it's even like, pastors and stuff, when they're saying like, don't go like, like preaching against like, like the metaverse and like VR and stuff like that. Like it's scary, like, and it's especially scary when you think about like kids that are going to like grow up in that environment. And it's, well, if that's that's going to happen, it's going to happen whether we want to or not. But it's up to us to say, are we going to go in there and bring the truth and figure out how to share the truth in that place, because that's where the people that need God are going to be. So we can't just abandon them and go off and do the Amish LARPing or whatever. Like
Yeah.
we have to figure out, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I saw you do a video on that
Yeah.
VR video, dude. That was great.
Yeah.
Kind of chilling. Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
yeah,
but I think that's the pattern, right? That's like, to me, that's the fundamental pattern is
Mhm.
expansion.
yeah,
It's like we think we're so cool because we're like these monkeys who learn how to make television remotes, and batteries, and it's like but at the end of the day, like that's the way that this, I think, Christianity works, and the way I've seen it, if I look at like the histories and stuff, like there's always division and expansion, and contracting and expanding. It's all this. And so like, it's good, I think, to have some fundamental ideas and actions to take and some fundamental aims that we should have. I think, yeah, all that. But at the end of the day, it's always changing, as you said. I mean, that's there's no stopping that,
Mhm.
you know. And yeah, like it is, some of that stuff is scary. Like, but then again, like when I think of being afraid of like the metaverse or whatever it is, I just have another thought that comes in that says, yeah, but what happens when and if the sun decides to kick out a solar flare that takes out the whole grid?
Mhm.
I don't know what's going to happen or not going to happen, you know.
Yeah.
So what am I doing right now? You
Well,
know,
so yeah, so that's the solution, is that half the Christians need to be in the metaverse and half of them have to go learn how to be Amish and how to live without electricity, and then we'll be good no matter what happens.
yeah. Like we're not as if we're gonna have anything just do to as you said, change it. It's not, so there's no stopping it, man. There's no stopping whatever's coming. And I've often found that all of, as I said, all the miracles and all the wonderful changes that ever happened in my life were always preceded by some really tough times, you know, and it's the way it is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's yeah. The other thing I was thinking about too is like with all the like weird like gender identity stuff, and like it's, and I think parents need to be really careful about that stuff. Like you can't just assume like your kids are going to be, you can't just send them to public school and just assume everything's going to be okay. Like you really need to be involved. But like but it's not going to work. Like, and so I was thinking about that because I have two daughters, and I was thinking like maybe it's really good like that God gave me daughters, because by the time they're like grown up or whatever, like men might not be allowed to like talk in public or whatever. But I don't know. I mean, just the way things are going a little bit. But like, here's the thing, like, there's these parents that are buying into this stuff and then they're teaching it to their kids, and like, it's not going to work. Like at some point, these kids are going to realize like, this was a lie. Like I tried to live this certain way and it made me miserable. And so, and so I'm thinking like, okay, I have these daughters, like I need to prepare them. Because nobody is going to listen to me, but by the time they're grown up or whatever, people are going to be listening to them. They need to have the truth, and they need to have the answers to share with people who are going through this weird experiment now of like postmodernism, and everything is fluid, and like at some point society's gonna have all these people like having breakdowns that are gonna be like, I don't know what to believe, I don't know what's true. And
just like every pattern that came before it, every generation before it.
Yeah.
Like I can sit and name all the reasons why, what my parents taught me. Oh, it's a lie, it didn't work out, and I'm doing okay, I guess. And then it just keeps going back. It's man, it's crazy. But like there's a lot of great examples of people around who are really kind of, I guess, for lack of a better phrase, doing the deal, who are really showing up, and whether it's here online or in the real world, and like that's why I really loved about tripping over, finding all you people here. It's like, there's cool, man. There's people outside of AA who are actually interested in being useful in the world and like trying to make a change and live their own lives and live better lives and actually be impactful in their houses and in their communities. I think that's wonderful, and like you find a guy like, I'm so shocked that Vanderklay hasn't kind of like blown up, because like it's interesting that a dude like that is existing online right now, and he's such a strange character online. You know what I mean? Like I haven't found any other. I haven't really looked, but I haven't found any other, pastors online who are doing what he's doing, in the way that he's doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's tough because it's hard to find. I mean, it's like weird. It's like I got lucky because I searched for two weird things together, and I searched for Jordan Peterson and Francis Schaeffer, and then that got me a video of Paul talking to Burn Power. But like otherwise, I don't know. Like it's hard to like. I guess that's kind of the problem with the whole like algorithm thing. It just wants to show you celebrities, but like yeah, I mean, hopefully there is more stuff like that. I think there's gonna be more. I think people are. Uh, I mean, just like the stuff that's like the top trending stuff. It just like once you've listened to a bunch of it, it's never it doesn't stay that interesting that long. So I think maybe this is like the way of the future that may like more small channels and stuff and just weird stuff and different stuff and hopefully more people find that kind of thing. And I think the thing that's really encouraging is that it makes people because that's what I started watching Paul's videos and I was like, oh, I could do this, because I had thought I thought about starting a YouTube before about some different stuff and like I wanted to do a woodworking channel, but like there's like a few like really big woodworking channels that are like their productions like so like high quality, and then everything else just looks like a garbagey knockoff. And so it's like what's the point? I'm not going to be able to compete with these top channels, and even if my information is like really great or whatever, it's just not gonna do it. So but yeah, I mean, kind of finding like this space, it's like it doesn't, it's not about the production, it's about the quality of the content. And there's a lot of really, really good stuff. And then I just thought like, I'm like it's free to be on YouTube. So if you have something good to say, like if you have something that you think is good to say and like 2 people listen to it, that's twice as many people as otherwise would hear it, and it's not hard to get more than two views. So like that's just goes back to the way of like we look at like a channel on YouTube and see like, oh, it's got like 1 million subscribers, so it's really like impressive or whatever. But who knows, like God's everywhere. Like who knows what impact's going to happen because one person watched a video that has like 100 views and the algorithm doesn't care about. But if that one right person watches it and it's the thing that God needs to use to speak to them, then like the world will be changed in some way forever. So that's why I kind of keep thinking like, yeah, it's a good, like it's I'm just going to keep doing this or whatever, try to keep doing it and just not worry about like the results or whatever. And like because I'm just trying to be obedient to God, and I've listened to like 8 hours of stuff a day, and then I have some interesting thoughts about it, and I got to get some of those thoughts out there, and hopefully some other person will like what I have to say and it'll help them in some way, and I'll just keep going on and on. So
yeah, that's what I liked. But I like the there's kind of like a communal thread where it reminds me of the music scene that I was involved with, and where like like maybe like Paul, it all kind of stems. Paul is kind of like the the main dude, and we're all kind of satellites in some way, in some strange way. But there's this when I was in a band and we played with like, these other bands, there was a couple of bands that we were really drawn to. We were really, really close with these guys, and they would come out with a new song right at the next show, and we would be so impressed with it, and it would be like, oh man, we gotta get our shit together. And then so we'd go and write our next song, and we'd perform it at the next show. And it was always like this fun thing where we were encouraging each other, and it wasn't necessarily competitive, but maybe a little, in a way that was like, it was fun and encouraging for each other. And there's some of that, I think, in this the so-called corner of the internet. And so you'll have some of that going on, and it's also exciting to hear different perspectives, and it's like, oh, cool. I don't know. It's just it's definitely strange, but also for me, it's also a creative outlet too, because like I have all sorts of stuff running through my head, and most of it's garbage, and like I don't know how to articulate my thoughts really well. So part of what's been fun for me is, especially like more recently, I've been just doing plopping different clips together, and like I see something in these things together. I don't know what it is, but there's something here, and so then I just put it together and put it out there. I don't know what that does, but maybe somebody who has a better way of articulating themselves could see what I'm trying to say here, or what I see, and maybe they could do something with it, or not, or whatever. And then so it's a little bit of that. So it's all this different kind of stuff where just having the ability to interact with others and have it and use my creative drives and be able to have this creative outlet and all that stuff is cool. Like I was thinking about actually in the future here, one of these kind of daydreams I have is where I was thinking about starting at like another channel, and it would just be dedicated to short stories that people could write, and then submit the short stories, and then we do a small production of just like an audiobook version of it, and just and maybe it would be a prompt based thing. So like if you want to do it, here's the prompt, and then you write your story, and then we'll put it on, and just have like a whole not restricted by any type of genre, but because like there are some of these channels out there, but it's always like a genre, like usually it's horror, and it's like, well, it'd be cool if there was like no genre tied to it, and then you just put your stories on, and something that's 20 minutes max or something, and and or whatever. And I think that'd be fun, man, because I love writing short stories. It's been a while, and I kind of have to have like a kick in the pants to do it. I won't just get up and do it. Like I kind of like being encouraged by others, and I'm usually encouraged by others when they're doing something. So I don't know, it'd be kind of cool to do that. So that's something that's been swirling in my mind for a while. Just my wife and I like to write short stories. We'll pick a prompt, and then she'll write a story, I'll write a story, and then we'll share them together. And it's kind of fun, and it'd be kind of cool to do that in this space too.
Yeah, I remember you were talking about that. I gotta try that, because my wife and I was like trying to think of. She likes. I feel bad because I'm just like not like a fun person or whatever. Like with like games and stuff. I like to play games sometimes, but like in groups. But it's weird to do it like one-on-one. Like there's not a lot of like good like games to just play with like one other person. I don't know. I don't feel like. So, but I was like, oh, might be something cool we could do, and then like have, because I just want to talk about stuff or whatever, and she does too, but she's like so busy with kids and stuff that she's like, all I get to like hear about is like kids, and she doesn't want to listen to the 8 hours of Paul Vanderklay and Jordan Peterson videos that I listened to that day. So yeah. Is it like a website or something you find your little prompts from, or?
Well, she has a book that has like 742 prompts in it.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
But you could do it with anything. I mean, you could just. Well, there's a train coming. But yeah, that's just what we would do. We would agree on a prompt, and then we would go our separate ways. And we had matching notebooks. It was all handwritten, and so she's really good at it. And what I liked about it was I didn't have to be good at it. I could just be creative and write. And I found that I was good enough at it to where I enjoyed it. And I have to try to be great or something. You know what I mean? Because like with create music, I got caught in like everything had to be this and this and this. And it takes away the childlike aspect of it. And so, yeah, it'd be good to do that again. Make like a YouTube channel like that, but one thing that we like to do too, we also play, uh, we like to play Skippo or Five Crowns or Corkle and just watch like Stargate SG-1 or Star Trek and just make fun of the characters. So that's kind of something fun we like to do too. Maybe, I don't know if you ever played Five Crowns, is a fun game.
I haven't played that. But... Well, then she gets mad at me because I win a lot too. So, but at certain games, I don't know if that's, but yeah, that's cool. Well, yeah. I'll definitely write a short story for your channel if you figure it out or get it set up. I like doing that stuff. So
yeah, that'd be fun, man. It'll probably be within the next couple months if I do it. You know what I mean? And so it's a matter of, there's a lot going on and I need to prioritize. Today I got to actually, we had our pressure tanks were on a well water, and our pressure tank went out, man. I was like freaking out, dude. And I was like, oh, we're going to pay a plumber to come in here and do all this. And I talked to one of my friends. He's like, dude, you could totally do it. It's not that hard. I'm like, what? He's like, you could do it. And so I looked up how to do it, and I got to change a water tank today at like 10 in the morning. So that was fun. It was, but yeah, so when I'm all that is to say, I have to make sure I'm prioritizing what is really important. You know, because I can get really distracted, especially with the online stuff, man.
Yeah. So. It's important to find the balance. Like, yeah.
But I appreciate you asking me, hitting me up, man, and I'd like to do it again sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, I feel bad because like it's, you know, just the scheduling stuff is like such a pain in the butt, and I don't ever pay attention to that stuff anyway. Like I just like, if we're doing something, my wife knows what we're doing, and I just come home and say, oh, we're going somewhere tonight. Okay. You know, so it's hard for me to like that's my like growing experience, is figuring out how to like schedule time for things and figure it out. But I feel, I'm glad we got to talk, because I know you'd mentioned that you'd seen stuff on my channel a bunch of times, and it's like, oh yeah, we got to talk about That Hideous Strength sometime too. So
oh yeah, that was really good. It was, I mean, dude, he's like he's way it's kind of eerie actually.
Yeah.
And like his the way that he sees stuff is pretty crazy, man. You know, I mean, all of his fiction stuff is phenomenal to me.
Yeah.
Other stuff, I got this on Audible. There was like the complete works of C.S. Lewis, and it was like sermons and all this stuff. I just was like, it was too slow for me at work. But you know, you get into the Great Divorce or any of that other stuff, it's great. I'm not a huge Narnia fan. Like, it's all right, it's okay, but I'm pretty picky on fiction. I've tried to find some other fiction out there, but it's really difficult to find just some great fiction. For me, it has been. So, but there are a few out there that are good. Like I like some Jack Reacher. I like Stephen King novels, and this other dude, Jim Harrison. He's good, but some C.S. Lewis.
I'm all sci-fi and fantasy. That's what I listen to. But and that was all I listened to before. I was like, I need to like get back into focusing on the Bible more, because the end of the world is coming, and I had my like freak out moment. But I mean, but you know what's like the thing is like is crazy is that like I feel like you know, like the Dune books and stuff like that, like those, like reading those kind of things and like understanding how it's like a fictional world, but it like all makes sense within itself. And then that's like how I read the Bible. And so then I'm always like, why is this weird thing here? It must make sense for some reason. And then like that's made it like a lot more fun for me to like get back into like studying the Bible lately is just trying to like, you know, it is like a whole complete story that all makes sense. And it doesn't really end like when the book ends. It also includes like all of history and everything that's happening now in the world. And so that's, yeah, that makes it like exciting. But
Yeah, man. Yeah, it'd be great to do this again. Maybe we can do talk about some of that stuff next time. And as you said, some C.S. Lewis and stuff.
Yeah.
But
All right. Well, yeah, I enjoyed having a conversation. So good luck with all of your future endeavors.
likewise, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All
Michael.
right.
Have a good one, man.
You too.